So, in Module 6, what we're going to look at more specifically is media and gender. So, we talked about a variety of influences on kind of the gender stereotype and how those get reinforced by a variety of forces, including family, other adults, communities, and peers. But we always have to keep an eye out for media and its influence. And so, as you can see here, I'm going to ask yourself, what are the stereotypes that are being portrayed in these images? Like, are the girls the ones that are looking at the magazines? Of course, not many look at magazines anymore. They look at, or if they do, they're online, but definitely being on the phone or sharing, the latest gossip with one another. The kind of glowering boy or the ones playing video games. I mean, these are all kind of media stereotypes of both male and female gender. And you're going to see a lot of similar kind of pictures when you do a search for them. Actually, if you want to get kind of stereotyped imagery in our society, just go to Google Images and type in a variety of things, and you will quickly see what the gender stereotypes are that media portrays, because those are going to come out very frequently. And so, if we look at magazines now, I realize that your book's just a titch dated on here because most people aren't reading hard copy magazines anymore. You can go ahead and see that because more and more magazines go to less and less frequent publication schedules, or they put a lot of their content online in the hopes that individuals will go ahead and look. But for our point, I think it's still a valid one here, that magazines, more than any other medium, really display the most obvious focus on gender socialization, especially for adolescent girls. And for adolescent girls, what we typically see is physical appearance being really the highest stressed kind of issue, particularly girls. And usually it's the physical appearance is of ultimate importance, and that focus is really on how to be appealing to boys. And so that's how they phrase a lot of their articles. And of course, the message that is being really conveyed to these adolescent girls is, if you buy the right products and strive to conform your appearance to the ideal that's presented in the magazine and looking like others, young ladies that are in the magazine, you're going to attract all the boys that you want. Okay, assuming that would be the ultimate goal for girls. And so, if you ever have looked at any of these types of magazines when you were a teenager yourself, or hey, if you go to, I don't know, Walmart or one of those other kind of stores that still have the magazines, take a look at them. It's interesting to read through those articles and just see what the focus is. Now, back when they were a little more in their heyday, your book went ahead and saw some research about the content distribution of a lot of three very popular teen magazines. I'm going to just trust them on this because I don't know what popular teen magazines would be, but 17, Young Miss, and Sassy. Anyway, you can see that there was a lot of focus on fashion and feature articles. But of course, the fashion is at how to look your best. And then you also have beauty and entertainment. Health is at the bottom. And some may argue that should be maybe one of the more important areas. So the whole how to look good and the feature articles, which I assume are things like, as you can see in the left-hand corner there with Teen Vogue, Ready, Set, Shop. That's a featured article. So once again, kind of displaying that message to adolescent girls. Adolescent boys, not so much on that particular focus. Then we can't forget social media. And once again, I'm going to apologize. I am not living under a rock, and I do realize that most adolescents are not using Facebook. If they are, it's kind of what they do to please their parents and grandparents and communicate with them that way. But their real kind of social media presence tends to be on Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat. So, but even Instagram, this would apply to, which happens to be a Facebook company. So, you dress it up a little different, but it's still the same company. This is back when Facebook was kind of the supreme social media for all adolescents, which up until about 5-10 years ago was really the case. Well, 5 years ago, yeah. And then so more girls that looked at Facebook, in other words, high frequency Facebook users, were more likely to report dissatisfaction with their appearance. They rated a higher drive for thinness, making a lot of social comparison or appearance comparisons with friends, and then drawing negative conclusions about yourself. Of course, most of the postings of any pictures that go online, at least the ones that are self promoted, tend to put that person in their best light. And then with all the various photo filters that are now out there, of course, you can look relatively unreal if you're comparing yourself to your real self. And if you do that with enough people and you're always looking and they all look better than you in real life, even though they've been obviously um, edited quite a bit, then you're going to be less satisfied with how you appear. And so there's no reason to think that these findings from Facebook, it would be any different for girls who say use Instagram a lot or any other that really kind of puts an emphasis on kind of physical attributes for them and how they measure up. So, gender socialization, is this a problem? You know, the girls, kind of the core focus has been for a long time on physical appearance. It can cause a great level of distress. And in those individuals where it happens to, they're more likely to develop negative body images in adolescence, which can lead to things like eating disorders down the road. And then for boys, the core focus is really on aggressiveness. And boys are expected by their peers to be verbally aggressive, directing a lot of kind of half joking insults at other boys on a regular basis. Some of those obviously can lead to confrontation and active violence, but the idea is that you're rough and tough, not to be messed with, somehow encapsulating some of the ideal of masculinity. So that's the influence to a degree of media on our gender expectations. What we're going to do next is really get into a couple of the theories of gender and talk a bit about those in the next couple modules. So that's going to wrap up this module. Stay tuned for module 7.